The movie starts with U.S. Marine Mike bidding farewell to his girlfriend at the airport as he departs for his next mission. In the next scene, we see Mike and his spotter, Tommy, sitting on a rocky hilltop in the middle of a desert, waiting for their target to show up. While Tommy is quite talkative, Mike is more serious and reserved. They spot a group of people walking on foot from one direction and several vehicles approaching from another. Mike's target is a 65-year-old terrorist named Saeed Asif. When Tommy and a voice on the radio instruct Mike to take the shot, Mike notices that the group seems to be gathered for a wedding, and the target appears to be the groom's father. Things get more complicated as the bride and groom step in front of the target. Mike is ordered to shoot the groom if needed to take down the target, but he can't bring himself to kill an innocent man. He lies to the command center, saying he lost sight of the target. Just then, the group's security detail spots them. A gunfight breaks out. The target escapes, and Mike and Tommy are forced to retreat as the armed men pursue them. During their escape, their GPS gets damaged, and they hide behind a rock. As the pursuers close in, Mike cleverly distracts them, leading them away from their position. After evading the attackers, they request an extraction, but are informed that they need to make their way through the desert on foot to a village 5 hours away for a pickup. They start their journey, battling sandstorms and scorching heat. Tommy keeps Mike entertained with stories about his son. Noticing Mike's troubled silence, Tommy pushes him to share what's on his mind. Mike reveals he's been struggling to propose to his girlfriend, Jenny. Tommy teases him for being scared, but reassures him that while marriage is challenging at first, things settle down over time. As they continue, a gust of wind blows a warning sign past them. Mike takes it seriously, recalling that 33 million landmines were laid in this desert over the past 40 years. Tommy dismisses it as a scare tactic, but Mike proceeds cautiously, the warning sign constantly on his mind. Tommy, trailing behind carelessly, mocks Mike for overthinking. Suddenly, there's a click, followed by an explosion. Tommy has stepped on a landmine. As Mike's hearing fades momentarily, he takes a step forward and hears another click. Mike freezes in shock. The dust settles, revealing that Tommy survived the blast, but his legs have been blown off below the knees. Tommy screams in pain and trembles. Mike, unable to move himself, tries to calm him down. When nothing works, he mentions Tommy's son, giving him the will to inject himself with morphine. Tommy tries to reach his radio, but the pain overwhelms him again. Seeing his friend in agony, Mike attempts to lift his own foot off the landmine, hoping it's a dud. Tommy warns him not to, and to stop him, he pulls out his gun and points it at his own head. He tells Mike that he has to survive at any cost, then pulls the trigger, ending his own life. Mike, helpless, screams in anguish. He's now entirely alone in the desert, unable to move. Exhausted from standing still, he kneels down. Mike realizes he has to somehow retrieve the radio next to Tommy's body. Using his shoelaces and an axe, he attempts to drag the radio bag towards him. He discovers that the radio's battery is dead, and the spare battery is on Tommy's body. Discouraged, Mike devises a new plan to charge the radio using solar power. He manages to reach his superior and begs to be rescued immediately, but due to ongoing sandstorms, a rescue helicopter can't reach his location. If all goes well, a convoy will reach him in 52 hours. Mike is devastated by the response. His superior advises him to dig a trench and lie in it for protection. Mike decides to stay out and wait for the rescue team, setting a countdown on his watch. A massive sandstorm hits. Mike endures it without moving an inch. As it passes, he notices that the storm has shifted Tommy's body, and with it, the spare battery, closer to him. But the radio has been blown further away. Hours pass on, Mike's water runs out. Desperate, he contemplates drinking his own urine when he sees a stranger approaching in a zigzag pattern. Mike tries to warn him about the mines, but the stranger mocks him, imitating his actions. Mike tries to explain his situation, but the stranger tells him to take a step forward. The stranger then steals Mike's water bottle and disappears into the desert. Completely parched and desperate, Mike drinks his own urine. Moments later, he sees a little girl approaching, carrying his water bottle back to him. She hands it to Mike, who is relieved to find it filled with water. The girl tries to show Mike with her toy how he can move forward without setting off the mines. Mike tells her he can't move and asks her to bring the radio, but she doesn't understand. Frustrated, he yells, scaring the girl away. Night falls, and the temperature drops. Mike lights a fire to stay warm. He hears the sounds of wild animals around him. To distract himself, Mike looks at pictures of his girlfriend on his phone and finds a video of Jenny telling him she's waiting for him and that he should come back to her soon. Mike gets emotional, fearing he'll never see her again. He's about to doze off when he's startled awake and realizes the fire has gone out. He finds himself surrounded by wild animals. He tries to scare them off with his gun, but it doesn't work. The animals drag Tommy's body away. One of them moves toward Mike, but he shoots it, causing it to fall on a mine, which explodes and scares the rest of the animals away. As dawn breaks, the stranger reappears. He tells Mike he's incredibly lucky to have survived so far, standing on a mine and spending a night in a predator-filled desert. He advises Mike once again to take a step forward, but Mike refuses. He suggests the man knows the location of the mines, given his careful walking pattern. The man denies it, saying he walks in a zigzag because it's safer than walking straight. Mike asks him once more to bring the radio. The stranger finally agrees and places it next to Mike before leaving. Mike checks his watch. There are still 24 hours left until rescue. He begins to hallucinate. He sees Tommy rising from the dead and encouraging him, telling him he'll survive. The sun sets, and Mike reflects on all his past mistakes, regretting leaving Jenny alone for this mission. He's suddenly attacked by wild animals again. He fights them off in a daze. As the sun rises, Mike snaps back to reality, surrounded by dead animals. He had fought them all off despite being outnumbered. Mike has been standing in the desert for 45 hours straight without moving. He receives a message from his superior, saying the rescue team will be delayed. The major asks if he can hold out for another 17 hours. Already pushed beyond his limits, Mike says he can't hold out any longer. The major tells him someone wants to talk to him. Mike hears Jenny's voice. He starts apologizing for everything he's done wrong, saying he ruined everything he touched. He begins to hallucinate again, seeing Jenny sitting on a couch in the desert. He tries to reach her, but collapses from exhaustion. Just as he's about to fall, the stranger appears again and catches him. He tends to Mike's wounds and tells him how he once stepped on a mine himself, losing a leg. He says he felt like he lost everything then, but meeting his wife and having his daughter helped him move past his pain. The man tells Mike that no matter what happens in life, we must keep moving forward. Mike mentions how lucky the man is to have a daughter, recalling how she gave him water. The man reveals that his daughter died in a mine explosion during an outing to clear mines, where they replaced mines with tin cans. Mike is stunned. The man says he's happy his daughter came to meet Mike, but now Mike must move on. The man disappears. Mike sees his daughter again, but she fades away with the wind. Mike begins hallucinating once more. He sees his abusive father beating his mother while he watched helplessly. He sees his mother, gravely ill. Then he recalls the beautiful moments spent with Jenny. At that moment, a voice on the radio says that the rescue team is passing nearby and asks Mike to signal his location. He reaches for a flare, but terrorists on the other side of the hill begin shooting at him. The gunfire sets off a mine, knocking the flare out of Mike's reach. He tries to return fire, but is too weak. Remembering Jenny, he finds the strength to fire at the ground, triggering nearby mines that explode and create a sand cloud, hiding him from the enemies. Mike quickly picks up his sniper rifle and takes out the terrorists with precision. As the rescue team moves past him, he notices that the flare, his signal for help, is still out of reach. At that moment, he remembers the words of the mysterious man. We must keep moving forward. Gathering his courage, Mike takes a step forward, but nothing happens. No explosion, no blast. He looks down and realizes that the mine he thought he was standing on is actually just a tin can. Perhaps it was placed there by the stranger's daughter when she was alive. And in that moment, the villager's words proved true. The entire time, the stranger had told Mike that he could move forward in his life and return to his girlfriend. He reminded Mike that the only thing holding him back was fear. Mike feels a wave of relief wash over him. He's alive, even though he's been wounded in the skirmish. He begins to cry uncontrollably. Maybe it's relief because he knows he will survive, or maybe it's anger at himself for not understanding the truth of his situation earlier. With trembling hands, Mike finally lights the flare and collapses onto the ground. The rescue team locates him, and he's brought back home. Upon returning home, Mike finds Jenny waiting for him at the airport. Her eyes are filled with tears of joy. Before embracing her, Mike drops to one knee, just like he had done during different stages of his life. He looks up at Jenny and proposes, promising that he will never leave her alone again. The scene ends with a powerful message. Fear can paralyze us, but the courage to take even one step forward can change everything.